Hello my friends, this is Paul and welcome to A Common Touch of Fantasy. Today we're reviewing the John Scalzi book, The End of All Things. I read this on audiobook, so I'll put the cover of the book up here in the corner. I absolutely love the Old Man's War series. I've given 2 5s and 2 4s in this series so far. Absolutely love it. The Human Division I thought was the best Old Man's War book in the whole series. Absolutely loved it. I thought the way it was written was ingenious and it worked extremely well. And so I was excited about reading The End of All Things because it was also a different kind of format. Instead of short stories put together, it is 4 novellas put together to make one overarching story. I don't want to say a whole lot about what The End of All Things is about, because I don't want to spoil the previous books. There is another faction in the universe now, other than the Conclave and the Colonial Defense Union and Earth. This new faction is called Equilibrium, and their whole desire is to destabilize both the Conclave and the Colonial Defense Union so that they both collapse and that they end up having all the power in the universe. The first novella follows a pilot on a large cruiser that gets hijacked. The second novella follows the Conclave's second in command. She is an alien. This is the first alien perspective we have gotten in the Old Man's War series. The third novella follows a Ghost Brigade's team that goes around to different planets to try to stop unrest. And the last novella brings all these people together in a showdown with Equilibrium. I listened to this on audiobook. The narrators were William DeFries and Tavia Gilbert. I really enjoyed the first novella, novella 1, with Rafe Duckqueen. An amazing novella. I don't want to give too much away, but this is what Old Man's War is all about. This novella has humor, it has action, it has suspense, and I really enjoyed it. I also really enjoyed the third novella that was the Ghost Brigade's group. It was a group of 5 individuals in a squad, and they were going from planet to planet trying to stop unrest and to get rid of threats. It was just a great mixture of characters, and their conversations about what was going on in the CDF was just outstanding. I really enjoyed the alien perspective in novella 2. It was nice just to have a perspective from the Conclave as well. I did like this book, but it wasn't on a level that the other Old Man's War books were for me. There was a lot about it that just didn't feel right. Starting with Tavia Gilbert's narration, I did not listen to Zoe's World. I did not read Zoe's World either. I thought that installment of Old Man's War was a little bit redundant, so I didn't even listen to it or read it. I just skipped over it. So I didn't get to hear David Gilbert narrate Zoe's World. So now that I have her in this new book, The End of All Things, I was a little bit thrown. And I just thought she didn't do that great of a job. Whereas William DeFries brings a lot of personality and humor to the characters, David Gilbert wasn't given characters that was witty or fun. They were extremely serious characters talking about politics, and it was very dialogue heavy, and it just wasn't all that entertaining. For the people that enjoy the politics of the Old Man's War series, they might enjoy this more. But in this book, the politics seemed like it was in the foreground. It was right in your face, whereas in the other books, it was always in the background. The characters, the relationship of the characters with each other, and the humor was always the thing that drove the books. The politics was always in the background, but in this book, it just seemed like the politics was the most important thing to Scalzi. That might be something that some readers really like, but for me, I prefer the characters out front and the politics in the back. Also, the characters that David Gilbert was narrating, they came in contact with Harry Wilson. And Harry Wilson has a very distinct personality from William DeFries, and I did not get that personality whatsoever when David Gilbert was delivering the lines that Harry Wilson would say. She didn't say it in first person because she was the character that was talking to Harry Wilson. But the sarcasm, the wit, just wasn't there when Harry Wilson talked. It just seemed like a totally different character, and I did not care for that. One thing I love about the Old Man's War series is that there are a lot of relationships between the characters that I really enjoy. You know, Perry with Jane, and Harry Wilson with Schmidt in the Human Division. In this one, we don't really have that. Harry Wilson is in this, but Schmidt is barely in this at all. Schmidt is the guy that I related to in the Human Division. He was just a normal guy. And as a reader, I'm just a normal guy. And when I read about Schmidt, I am able to really relate to what's going on. And for some reason, Scalzi just did not want to put Schmidt in this book that much. I thought that the relationship between Schmidt and Harry Wilson was what made the Human Division so good. And for him not to have that relationship in the End of All Things really disappointed me. You know, Old Man's War books are usually very messy. They all have something going on where the characters have to figure out a way to overcome the obstacle that they have been given. In this book, everything was very neat. It just seemed very sterile. The plot was just very safe, and I was really disappointed with that. In fact, the climax in the fourth novella of the conflict between Equilibrium, the Conclave, and the CDF, it was extremely anticlimactic. It was probably one of the most anticlimactic endings of any book that I've ever read. And for a series that has amazing endings, I was so disappointed. You know, I'm not really sure what happened with the End of All Things. I don't know if this was really supposed to be the last story in the Old Man's War series. Obviously it's not now, but I was under the impression that it was going to be. And it was built up that way. But then Scalzi got that deal with Tor, and I don't have any background for this, or I don't have any facts for this, but it just feels like maybe he might have changed the end of the book. He might have changed the book to appease that deal so that he can come back to the Old Man's War series in the future, when he had the opportunity to close out this series, reunite all the amazing characters in this series, and have this spectacular ending to this amazing series. But I think he just wanted to keep it open-ended, just in case, and I really wanted a closing book to the series, and honestly, I was just disappointed I didn't get it. My expectations were a closing book, and I didn't get that. I should honestly take the book for what it is, review it for what I got, but I can't help but think what could have been. Anyways, I gave this a 3 out of 5. I mean, I did like it. The first novella in particular was fantastic. The other ones were just okay. I gave a 2 for the plot, a 2 for the characters. Yes, an Old Man's War book got a 2 for characters from me. A 3 for world building, a 2 for writing style, and a 2 for my reaction. I was honestly disappointed. Alright guys, thanks for watching this review. Please comment below. Have you read this? What were your feelings about the book? What are your feelings about this series? And please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time for another review.